Welcome back and good afternoon. It's a beautiful day here in central Wisconsin, approximately 60 degrees, so it's no longer in need of the winter jacket. Today's video is going to be a spicy one. The title of this video, I'm going to call it XxX. Now, it's going to refer to all the topics we're going to cover on the board today, and also I want to open it up of basically the black and white. Since I'm wearing a black and white flannel, I'm using a black and white whiteboard within a printing. Transparency in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Okay, folks, we have so much going on behind the scenes that the public does not know. With the different referendums to propose solar arrays, to litigation against city members, all of that is being held out of the sight of the public. Now, our current mayor has established saying that he wants to have transparency between the public and the government, that he's opened the door for more communication going on. There are more comments on our city web pages or during YouTube videos of our current administration committee or council meetings than ever before. Now, is that directly related to the more ergonomic city website? Or is it because the attention of the public is being brought to them through other means of communication? Now, it's been a while since our mayor has done his mayor's minute. I'm assuming he's going to be doing it here pretty soon. But the rumor mill here in Wisconsin Rapids has just overflooded with communication. Now, this week I was able to attend a couple of different public meetings, activities, let's call it that. And I've gotten a chance to speak to a lot larger population than ever before. Now, not only within our community here in Wisconsin Rapids, I've also been able to talk to individuals that live in the Grand Rapids region. Folks, the individuals that live around the Ridges Golf Course here in Wisconsin Rapids, they attended a public meeting at the Ridges Golf Course. And as I was just having a regular conversation with people at my table or outside, so on and so forth, none of them knew about the proposed solar array that could be constructed right on their front doorstep. So as I've been out in public, even members of other communities, I've brought the issues here in Wisconsin Rapids to their attention to the point where they are concerned now. Even though they're not allowed to necessarily approach the bench, the podium at City Hall to address their concerns because they're not voting public here in Wisconsin Rapids or they don't reside here in Wisconsin Rapids, projects that occur here affect them. And they would like to have a voice. So again, folks, I'm going to reiterate this or re-emphasize this. The city of Wisconsin Rapids needs to bump our borders out to include the communities around us so that we can all be governed and have a voice together. So with that, on the whiteboard today, we're going to be talking about the tax-covered services that we have here in Wisconsin Rapids, the schools and how many we have, the aquatic center increased costs, our EMS services and contracts being offered to other communities, and finally, we're going to wrap this edition up with our courts here in Wisconsin Rapids, our municipal court. Now, going to tax coverages, the reason why I've titled this XxX is how many things here in Wisconsin Rapids are you paying taxes for in multiple different forms? Okay, so we pay our property taxes to fund the government of Wisconsin, and then we pay taxes at the gas pump for more road maintenance from the state level. How many times is our single dollar taxed to complete a project or to cover a service? At three strikes you're out, we can basically eliminate saying we are being taxed more than enough. So another example would be with our utility tax here in Wisconsin Rapids, the road sidewalk taxes they tried to impose on the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. That went off to the courts, the state courts, and the appeals court said that we can't be doing that because it's literally a double tax. We are already paying property taxes to fund the maintenance and infrastructure of our community. Now, any additional proposal for a wheel tax is going to have that same fate. I will make sure that that information is shared amongst our public. Now, our schools, we are going to be presented with a referendum here in Wisconsin Rapids for approximately $3.1 million to cover multiple different projects at our local schools. I mentioned in a previous video that there's a rumor mill that one of our local schools is actually going to be shut down. So again, out of our property taxes, even our school system, are we paying property taxes and being collected taxes from in order to cover these type of things to where they need to ask for more money? Or is it needing to be more accountable with the dollars that they're receiving? Okay, only you can dive into that. Now, I don't know the exact date. I believe it's December 5th. I could be completely wrong there. Of when the city of Wisconsin Rapids is going to open these discussions to the public for their public feedback. I hope that the citizens that watch this spread the word, tell your neighbors, tell your family, so on and so forth, to follow along what's going on here in Wisconsin Rapids. And if they have a strong feeling, either for or against these proposals, please show up at City Hall or at our Wisconsin Rapids school board meetings and voice your opinions. It is because of the spread of the knowledge here in Wisconsin Rapids within that rumor mill that we have now avoided the change in our school schedule. We are retaining the September school start. Okay, so again, over approximately a 3-month period of time, it was introduced as an idea. Our administration was able to argue about it or add their opinions to it within our faculty and management within the public school systems. Another month for the word to kind of travel within the public and for the public to communicate on it. And a third month, they had their vote. That's how all of our ordinances and all of our actions here in Wisconsin Rapids should be taken on. For those of you that might follow along with city meetings, if you're clicking on the city website to look for the agenda to see what the topics are going to be discussed, approximately 48 hours before you find out what's on it. That's if you're not tuning into all the committee meetings leading up to it. At what point do the public get to interject their opinions? Not until the final step. Okay? We have to switch that around completely. Now, here in Wisconsin Rapids, our public school systems, they're fitted with a budget, once again, determined by the state. And we have to realize that we have multiple schools. And if we have one individual that might specialize within the schools for, let's say, child behavior type issues, we might have one specialist in the region, and they have to visit each one of the schools throughout the school calendar year. So let's just break it down to 1 week. So if that specialist is going to visit a school for the day, they can visit 5 locations within a week. But we have more than 5 schools here in Wisconsin Rapids or the Southwood County School District. Now, that position is being paid for by taxpayer dollars, but they're only at the location of where your child might be attending school 1 out of approximately every 2 weeks. Okay? Anybody follow along with that? It's the same procedures that are happening within our nursing homes. While we, as taxpayers, are paying into Medicare, Medicaid, when programs or aging homes are receiving money from that, they're supposed to be providing a certain kind of service, whether that be 3 meals a day, entertainment, to transportation. Now, most of our nursing homes, as the name implies, they're supposed to be manned with nurses, registered nurses. But many of our nursing homes will only have one traveling registered nurse that might visit multiple locations during the week or during the month, to the point where they only have to stop in for 1 hour per week to each facility in order to qualify to receive that money. But are your loved ones that are in the care of those nursing homes, are they being provided with nursing care? No. So everything that's going on with the government shutdown, which was signed by the president last night to finally close it, some of our military members and contractors will not receive their paycheck as of yesterday, as of Wednesday. But it will be doubled up on their next paycheck. So they're going to have to go approximately 2 weeks off of the previous if they're living paycheck to paycheck. but they had at least a month's notice with the government shutdown to prepare for those cuts. Okay, now moving on from our schools, I want to close one thing out. Now, again, I realize that we have multiple schools here in Wisconsin Rapids that are living up to their expectations, but there are a few that are not, and that's the focal point that I believe our city, as a community, the citizens, the city government, and also the city's public schools, they have to come to the same conclusion that we need to adjust some things. Now, it's not about sticking money into one facility or the high school itself. The wealth has to be shared to the lower schools. Now, this has brought up the conversation of, why is public taxpayer money going into the private schools? Folks, as a student and also as a parent, I've experienced both the public and private school system. And I can tell you that our private school systems, especially at the grade school levels from pre-K years to approximately 6th grade, they supply our students with a higher education than what they receive in the public school systems, even without the assistance of the specialized individuals that are within our public school system. Our private school teachers do not earn as much money as the teachers within the public school system. They're nowhere near the level of faculty numbers per student capita either. What we do not offer within our private schools, especially at the grade school level, is the extracurricular type programs, the sports, the music, so on and so forth. They do not have the level of funding to be able to carry those on. So the 5 fundamental subjects that our students are supposed to be learning in grade school are more important. So your science, your history, your math, and reading are much higher on the priority list. Now, our public schools have introduced the phonics portion of it. While it's receiving different responses throughout the state of Wisconsin, it is something that the private schools have been instituting for as long as I can remember. Okay, so 40 plus years. It does work. Okay, so we have 40 years of proof within the private school system and the private school national testing that the children at the grade school level are testing up higher than what they are within the public school system in that pre-K to 6th grade level. Now, approximately that middle school, 7th and through 12th grade, the public schools do have things to offer with those extracurricular type options, whether it's machine shops, building construction, aeronautics, the sports and music. That is when the acceleration of our students to learn those activities is the con with our public schools. But there's something missing along the way. So from my experience, not only as myself and also as a parent to my children, it has been a benefit to send our children and myself to a private school for grade school, and then exposing them to the public school system at higher levels when other things need to be included with the education of our children. Now, let's make one thing very clear. Our private schools did not ask the state of Wisconsin to recognize school choice or the voucher system. They did not ask for that. Okay? So when individuals come out and attack the private schools of why are they getting taxpayer funds, they did not ask to do that. It was the state of Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin that determined school choice and the voucher system. The individuals involved with the public school system, if they're not satisfied with the public school system, the money they collect within taxpayer dollars, 80% of that can be transferred to a private institution. Now that difference I've drawn out to you. What our students are receiving in the public school system, if they remain there, is at the full amount. For the children under school choice or the voucher system, only 80% of that follows them to the private schools. The remaining 20% that stays in with the circulation of the public schools goes for the things that they do provide within taxpayer funding to the public schools with students underneath school choice or the voucher system. So approximately 20% go to still offering those students summer lunch programs. So even if the private school doesn't offer them, those students can still take part in our summer lunch programs. It also covers busing. So any of our students in the school choice or voucher system can still utilize the public school transportation. Now, the 80% difference is what is adding to the private school systems and why they are doing so much better within their test rates at the grade school level. That was normally the practice up until recent years. Up until 2021, our private school students in the grade school levels did test out a considerable amount above the public schools. It is since 2021, since the COVID era, that our private schools, our test scores have been coming down to the point where they are now on par with the public school systems. Because there are more and more families in the state of Wisconsin choosing the private school systems with school choice and the voucher system. And along with those funds, the private schools are now being held to the exact same curriculum as within the public schools. So with that description right there, can we identify what the actual problem is within our education system? When we're instituting the curriculum from the public schools into the private schools, our students are testing out at the same level. So is it necessarily throw more money at it, folks, that we can fix the problem with adding more faculty, more programs? No, that is not the answer. It is directly within the curriculum that we are teaching our kids. At the grade school level, there has to be a lot more emphasis on reading, writing, and arithmetic, leaving out things like the sports or music. Okay, there's obviously some introduction that has to go along with that, but they don't necessarily need to extract the full amount of funds to our grade school students that are interested in those events or those activities. There's no need for it. If parents are obviously in that second grade or up, if they wish their child to be in sports, they are paying extra out of their pockets to put them in the sports, whether it be football programs, soccer programs, basketball programs, baseball programs, that cost substantially much more the amount of taxpayer dollars going into the school system sports and athletics. Okay? Now, I want to mention something that's going to be very specific here in Wisconsin Rapids. It's just something that I've noticed, okay, both with my attending the public school system here in Wisconsin Rapids and what I've noticed just within the leaderboards or the record-keeping boards within our local high school. If you go inside and actually read the name of the players and their achievements, pay attention to the last name of those players. Now, most of those players are from very financially stable families here in Wisconsin Rapids. So do you think that money has anything to do with the performance of our athletes? Where families that might be financially stable, they can dedicate more time of their students to participate in after-school activities. Well, some of our more challenged families here in Wisconsin Rapids, maybe those families are working 2 or 3 jobs to the point where even some of their children have to work jobs, so they cannot dedicate the time to actually be in sports. So their names will never be in the leaderboards. That has been the situation for as long as I can remember. It's always the wealthy families that can dedicate more time within their students and within their family volunteer time within the sports of where those athletes finish. If anybody wants to prove me wrong, we can look at actually the individuals in our sports association here, right here in central Wisconsin. Mr. Mancuso, the former principal of Lincoln High School. Where did all of his kids play? How about Mr. Bennett's? Was it a second or third generation coach at Lincoln High School with the Bennett's last name? If you walk into the local pool at Lincoln High School and look at the leaderboard, look at the last name of all the record holders. All of them match last names of local lawyers here in Wisconsin Rapids. So again, folks, there's a lot more to the story than just what we're being fed within this $3.1 million referendum. Who is actually capitalizing within those funds if they are granted? It is not our students. All right, moving on. Our aquatic center here in Wisconsin Rapids, it was announced that the fees to use the aquatic center per day has gone up $1. Okay, you're not going to think that $1 really means a whole lot. Okay, so to use it for the day from say $4 to $5 or $7, $8, exactly what it was, that's not really that much of an increase. Okay, that's nowhere near meeting inflation. Now, if we realize that our aquatic center is funded by taxpayer dollars, so if we're paying taxes to operate the Parks and Rec department here in Wisconsin Rapids and the aquatic center, which is underneath their command, why are the taxpayers of Wisconsin Rapids paying any additional fee to use the aquatic center? Strike one, strike two. Now, with the announced increases, there's been a difference between residents of Wisconsin Rapids, what they can pay, what they're being offered in savings. So if you buy a season pass for an individual, is now instead of $20 a year, it's $25 a year. Okay, that's still pretty cheap, right, folks? But now that $7 to $8, $1 increase is also being the same price being charged to residents that visit Wisconsin Rapids from our surrounding areas. So follow along with me. This is gonna be kind of sketchy territory for any of our city administrators. Our aquatic center is charging the same amount to residents, the taxpayers of Wisconsin Rapids, as they are to individuals that do not pay taxes inside of Wisconsin Rapids. But those individuals do bring revenue from those other communities into Wisconsin Rapids. Okay? Follow along with me now. Anybody, if you disagree with what I just said, if that's not how the math works out, please correct me. Now, I'm going to take it a step further. Our aquatic center is charging the same amount to residents, the taxpayers, as they are to members of our population, no matter where they're coming from, the same amount. And I've heard arguments saying that we should be charging more to the residents or to the population that is not part of our own community. Right, Mr. Veneman? Right, Jeff? I believe you guys proposed additional fees to those visiting outside of our community, outside of our borders. Strike three. You're also the same individuals, including our mayor, that has offered the communities around us a third of the price for charges for EMS services than the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids are paying. XxX. So that is something that, as mayor, no matter what's being talked about in any discussion that's going on within all the departments, I would be bringing that point of view from our citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, representing the taxpayers. Are you being charged once, twice, or three times to receive the service? What's illegal? Is our utility, sidewalk, and road program illegal? Would a wheel tax be illegal? According to the appeals court in Wisconsin, it is. So at any moment that I choose, I can start bringing up and collecting the information, asking for the public information at City Hall, paying the additional amount to receive that public information. Again, it's public information, but I have to pay to receive it. So I'm charged twice because I pay taxes for it to collect it. Now I'd have to pay it twice to receive it. I could gather all that information and start bringing it to a point of how many things here in Wisconsin Rapids are being charged 2 or 3 times. And are they legal? You don't have to be a mayor to do that. You don't have to be a member of the city administration to bring awareness to the public of the situations that we have. You literally just have to hand them over the public information. the information they are not supplying openly within transparency practices. Now, back to the aquatic center real quick. We all know and we enjoy the aquatic center. Okay, if you have very young children, if you have kids that are interested in swimming every day and getting cooled off, even for the families that have students or college kids that would like to have a summer job, they can apply for a position at the aquatic center. And then, it's not the most strenuous job. Let's put it that way. Provides an opportunity for them to earn some income. We can appreciate that. We can appreciate the amenity of having a aquatic center in Wisconsin Rapids. But at what cost? That's what you, as a citizen or as an administrator, need to determine how much that actually is. Could we actually sell the aquatic center instead of being a tax burden? So removing the first X, okay, we're going to play a little family feud. So if we sell the aquatic center and release that from being a tax burden on the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, and we sell it to a private entity or private management to run it, we would still have to be paying the same amount of fees to get in per day, and if we buy a season pass. But now that season could be stretched out earlier in the year to where maybe the private schools, they got a school sooner than the public schools. So the private school kids would have access, if it's hot outside, to the aquatic center. And if our schools don't open until the September date, the entire month of August, for anybody that lives in Wisconsin, realize that it's kind of a crapshoot of what days are going to be hot, so on and so forth. But we can't open the aquatic center because the facility is run by students that are now returning to college, returning to high school, so on and so forth. If it's run by a private entity, it's going to employ our older or independent citizens here in Wisconsin Rapids that are not in school. And it's going to be able to open the facility for a longer period of time for our citizens to take advantage of it. And it's going to release the tax burden on our residents. Now, if a private entity owns the aquatic center, are they going to have the ability to charge the residents of Wisconsin Rapids the same or more amount of money that they would, say, a customer that's visiting our area, say from Florida? Strike two. No. They'd only be able to charge individuals trying to access the aquatic center the same fee. So again, folks, it's all about math. It comes right down to the numbers. While we're supposed to have professionals within our city administration that understand how to manage a business, so on and so forth, and look out for themselves, is it necessarily looking out for the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids? Because that's who our city administration works for, right, in the end? So now moving on, we're going to go on to the court systems here in Wisconsin Rapids. A municipal court. And folks, I just received more information that some of the same litigation that was going on earlier this summer, it's been reignited. Folks, I don't know how much, how long and how much our city is going to get away with doing what they're doing. It's already been brought to district court. It could even be going to a higher Supreme Court level decision making. It comes right down to it, folks. It doesn't matter what your address is. Whether you're in the city of Wisconsin Rapids, in the county of Wood County, in the state of Wisconsin, or a citizen in Anchorage, Alaska. According to the Constitution of the United States, your rights remain the same. That's it. Property rights, building codes, they're not just individually. They might be specific to a zone, but it's not specific to municipalities. While ordinances try to make it so, our ordinances are actually breaking the Constitution. But according to state, okay, which is the limit that the national government recognizes, is a limit gives power to each municipality to manage itself in any way it sees fit. It's not how it works, folks. So even our kids, going back to the school thing, Our grade school kids, what are they being taught in public schools and private schools about the history of the United States? Where does the authority end? Is it to the individual 50 states, or is it to the 500,000 municipalities? To the states. So any litigation that occurs anywhere, it has to be connected within a chain of command. Municipalities have found the last link and removed the rights of the citizens. That's not right. So now, since we're talking about XxX, let's talk about our court system, mainly our city attorney and our municipal court judge position. Now, if we have a city ordinance and we have to maintain those city ordinances, if they apply and are constitutional, can we refer those cases to the county courts? Well, the county courts are going to go by county law, right? They're going to go by state law to determine fault. But here in the city of Wisconsin Rapids, if you break a city ordinance, you are going to be found guilty no matter what, because you are being charged, judged, and convicted all by the same entity, the city government of Wisconsin Rapids. Our city attorney will be against you, and our city municipal court judge will be against you, without the right of representation. Now, does the state of Wisconsin require every municipality to have their own attorney and municipal court judge? No. So with this recent Wisconsin Rapids city budget, they were looking at approximately $300,000 that they needed to cut from all the different departments in order to zero out and balance the budget. Within two positions that are not required by the state for the city of Wisconsin Rapids to provide, would have covered that without any one of our departments having to make any cuts. So we need, 5 firefighters and 3 policemen? The taxpayers are already paying property taxes to provide county court systems, the 4 municipal courts that we have here in in Wood County, We are also paying additional tax within our city budget, within the tax levy limit, to cover our city attorney and judge. Folks, we're being charged 3 times to cover our city court system here in Wisconsin Rapids. What if we turn that into the appeals court here in Wisconsin? 3 strikes, you're out.